The silence was deafening. Marcus Chen hadn't expected silence when he first opened his eyes aboard the research vessel Aurora's Edge. He had expected the familiar hum of life support systems, the distant chatter of his crew, perhaps even the soft ping of incoming data from their deep space sensors. Instead, there was nothing but the hollow echo of his own breathing in what appeared to be an empty ship. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Marcus tried to sit up, his muscles protesting after what felt like the longest sleep of his life. The medical bay around him looked different somehow, more advanced than he remembered. The walls displayed readings and languages he didn't recognize, and the equipment bore markings that seemed almost organic in their flowing design. His head throbbed as fragmented memories tried to surface. They had been conducting routine atmospheric analysis of a distant world, one that showed promising signs of habitability. The planet designated as Kepler 442c had exhibited oxygen levels and temperature ranges that suggested it could support human life. That was the last thing he clearly remembered before everything went black. A soft chime echoed through the chamber, and suddenly a holographic figure materialized beside his bed. The being that appeared was tall and graceful, with elongated limbs and skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Its eyes were large and kind, filled with what Marcus could only describe as profound sadness. When it spoke, the words came not as sound but as thoughts that formed directly in his mind. "Welcome back to consciousness, Dr. Chen," the entity said, its mental voice carrying harmonics that no human throat could produce. "I am Zara of the Luminari Council. I have been waiting for you to awaken so that I might explain what has transpired during your absence from awareness." Marcus struggled to process what he was seeing and hearing. "Who are you? What happened to my crew? Where's Captain Rodriguez and the others?" The being's expression grew even more sorrowful. "Dr. Chen, you have been in stasis for 47 years. Your species, your people, they are no longer what they once were." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. 47 years. Nearly half a century had passed while he slept. "That's impossible," he whispered, though even as he spoke, he could see the truth in the alien's large, expressive eyes. "The stasis pods were only designed for 6-month missions. How could I have been under for decades?" Zara's form flickered slightly, as if the holographic projection was struggling to maintain stability. "Your ship was discovered drifting in the void by one of our survey fleets. You were the only survivor, kept alive by emergency systems that had somehow managed to extend your stasis far beyond their normal parameters. We brought you aboard our vessel and have been caring for you while we tried to understand what your species had become." Marcus swung his legs over the side of the medical bed, noting that his body felt stronger than it should have after such a long period of inactivity. "What do you mean, what we had become? What's happened to Earth? What's happened to humanity?" The Luminari being gestured, and the walls of the medical bay became transparent, revealing the vast expanse of space beyond. But this wasn't the empty void Marcus expected to see. Instead, massive structures floated in the darkness, cities that seemed to have been carved from asteroids and planetoids. Ships moved between them in organized patterns, their hulls gleaming with the same organic technology he had noticed in the medical equipment. "When we first encountered your homeworld 43 years ago," Zara began, "we thought we had discovered paradise. Earth was more beautiful than any world in our extensive records. Your oceans sparkled like liquid sapphires. Your continents were carpeted in green forests that stretched from horizon to horizon. And your atmosphere sang with the voices of millions of species living in harmony. We observed your planet for months, marveling at its perfection." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. There was something in the alien's tone that suggested this story didn't have a happy ending. "You observed us? Were you planning to make contact?" "Oh, Dr. Chen," Zara said, and now there was definitely sadness in her mental voice. "We tried. We sent peaceful envoys bearing gifts of knowledge and technology. We wanted to welcome humanity into the Galactic Preservation Alliance, an organization dedicated to protecting and nurturing the most beautiful worlds in the galaxy. Earth qualified not just for membership, but for special protected status. We were prepared to offer your people everything: clean energy, faster than light travel, medical technology that could extend human lifespans to thousands of years. All we asked in return was that humanity agree to maintain Earth's natural beauty and limit industrial expansion to preserve the paradise they had inherited. The way Zara spoke of these gifts, Marcus could tell that the Luminari and their allies viewed this as the ultimate honor. To be invited into their alliance must have been like receiving a cosmic seal of approval. What happened? Did our governments refuse? Worse, Zara replied, her form becoming even more translucent. Your leaders listened to our proposal, accepted our gifts, and signed the preservation accords. For 3 months, it seemed as though humanity would become our most treasured partner species. Your planet was designated as the crown jewel of protected worlds, and we began making preparations to share our most advanced technologies with your people. Marcus leaned forward, his scientific mind racing to understand what could have gone wrong with such a seemingly beneficial arrangement, but something changed. Everything changed, Zara confirmed. The transformation began slowly at first. Your military forces, which we had assumed were small peacekeeping organizations, suddenly began expanding at an unprecedented rate. Factories that had been converted to clean energy production were mysteriously rebuilt overnight into massive industrial complexes. Most disturbing of all, your people began modifying themselves. The holographic display around them shifted, showing images that made Marcus's blood run cold. These were definitely humans, but they had been altered in ways that defied everything he knew about biology and medicine. Some stood nearly 3 meters tall, their muscles enhanced far beyond normal human capability. Others had additional limbs that moved with mechanical precision, or eyes that glowed with an inner light that suggested technological integration. All of them wore expressions of cold calculation that seemed utterly alien on human faces. We didn't understand what we were seeing at first, Zara continued. Our cultural experts assured us that this was simply humanity's way of celebrating their acceptance into the alliance. Some species do undergo ceremonial modifications when joining our organization. We thought you were adapting our biotechnology to express your joy at becoming part of something greater than yourselves. Marcus studied the images more closely and felt his stomach turn. These weren't celebratory modifications. The humans in the recordings moved with predatory grace, their enhanced forms clearly designed for combat rather than ceremony. Worse, their faces showed none of the wonder or gratitude that might be expected from a species receiving such incredible gifts. Instead, they looked like soldiers preparing for war. How long did it take you to realize what was really happening? Marcus asked, though he was beginning to suspect he didn't want to know the answer. 18 months, Zara said, and her mental voice now carried a tremor of what could only be described as trauma. 18 months of watching your species systematically convert every gift we gave them into weapons. The clean energy technology became power sources for military installations. The medical advances became enhancement programs for super soldiers. The faster-than-light drive designs became the basis for warships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The display changed again, and Marcus found himself looking at Earth as it appeared today. The beautiful blue marble he remembered was gone, replaced by a world that looked like it had been transformed into a massive fortress. Orbital platforms surrounded the planet in geometric patterns, their surfaces bristling with weapon systems that looked both technological and organic. The continents themselves had been reshaped, with massive structures rising from what had once been pristine wilderness. Even the oceans had been changed, their surfaces broken by artificial islands and underwater installations that glowed with ominous energy. What happened to the preservation accords? Marcus asked weakly. Didn't humanity agree to maintain Earth's natural beauty? Zara's laugh was bitter and filled with pain. Oh, they maintained them, Dr. Chen, technically. According to their legal experts, the accords only applied to Earth's original surface. Everything they built was either underground, underwater, or in orbit. They argued that they were preserving the planet exactly as promised, while simultaneously transforming it into the most heavily fortified world in galactic history. Marcus stared at the images of his transformed homeworld, trying to reconcile what he was seeing with the humanity he remembered. The Earth of his time had certainly had its problems, pollution, conflicts, inequality, but it had also been home to billions of people who just wanted to live their lives in peace. The world he was looking at now seemed designed for nothing but war. What about the people? He asked. The ordinary citizens who weren't part of this transformation? What happened to them? That, Zara said, is perhaps the most disturbing part of the entire story. We assumed that these enhanced humans represented a small military caste, perhaps 10% of your population at most. We thought the majority of humanity remained unchanged, possibly even unaware of what their governments were doing. When we tried to establish contact with normal human civilians to express our concerns about the treaty violations, we made a terrible discovery. The holographic display zoomed in on one of Earth's major cities, and Marcus could see crowds of people moving through the streets. At first glance, they looked like ordinary humans going about their daily lives. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. But as the image resolution increased, he could see that every single person showed signs of enhancement. Some modifications were subtle. Slightly larger frames, eyes that reflected light differently, movements that were too fluid to be entirely natural. Others were more obvious, with visible technological implants or physical alterations that clearly served military purposes. Every human on Earth has been modified, Zara explained. Every man, woman, and child has undergone some form of enhancement. Your species has transformed itself into something that our greatest scientists cannot fully understand or classify. They appear to be a perfect fusion of biological evolution and technological augmentation, created with a level of sophistication that surpasses even our most advanced member species. Marcus felt the last of his strength drain away as the implications of what he was hearing sank in. The entire population? That's impossible. There were over 8 billion people on Earth when I left. How could they all have been modified in just a few decades? We don't know, Zara admitted. Our analysts estimate that the process would require industrial capacity and technical knowledge that shouldn't exist anywhere in the galaxy. Somehow, humanity has achieved in 40 years what we thought would take any species at least a millennium to accomplish. The transformation appears to have been voluntary, systematic, and universal. We haven't detected a single unmodified human on your homeworld. The medical bay fell silent as Marcus processed this information. His own species had become something alien to him, something that had used advanced alien gifts to transform themselves into cosmic-level threats. The humans he was seeing in the recordings didn't look like the explorers and scientists he had worked with. They looked like a species that had been preparing for galactic war from the moment they learned they weren't alone in the universe. "You said I was found drifting in space," Marcus finally said. "What happened to the rest of the research mission? What happened to the Aurora's Edge?" Zara's expression became even more pained. "Your ship was discovered in the debris field of what your people now call the Titan Yards. It appears to have been some kind of massive construction facility in your outer solar system. When we found you, the facility was in the process of building something that our engineers still cannot fully comprehend. The scale of the construction was beyond anything we have encountered in our thousands of years of galactic exploration." New images appeared on the display showing a structure so vast that it dwarfed entire moons. The construction looked partially organic and partially mechanical, with flowing curves that seemed to pulse with their own rhythm. Marcus could see swarms of enhanced humans working on different sections, their movements coordinated with inhuman precision. Ships that looked more like living creatures than vehicles moved materials between different sections of the project. "We estimate that this single construction project represents more industrial output than our entire alliance produces in a standard galactic year," Zara continued. "We have no idea what its purpose might be, but our long-range sensors suggest it's some kind of vessel. If that's true, it would be capable of carrying millions of your enhanced people anywhere in the galaxy." Marcus studied the images of the massive construction project, his scientific training allowing him to appreciate the incredible engineering involved even as his human heart filled with dread. Whatever humanity was building out there, it wasn't being constructed for exploration or peaceful contact. The design suggested something built for conquest, a way to project power across interstellar distances. "How many worlds know about this?" Marcus asked. "How many species are aware of what humanity has become?" "That's part of why I'm speaking with you, Dr. Chen," Zara said. "You represent a link to humanity as it once was. The Galactic Preservation Alliance has been debating how to respond to your species for over 2 years now. Some member species believe we should attempt renewed diplomatic contact, hoping that the original human values still exist somewhere beneath all these enhancements. Others argue that humanity has become too dangerous to ignore, and that preemptive action may be necessary to protect other worlds. The implications of what Zara was suggesting hit Marcus like a sledgehammer. The Alien Alliance was considering some kind of military action against Earth. Given what he had seen of humanity's transformation, such a conflict would likely be devastating for both sides. Enhanced humans with advanced technology facing off against an alliance of species that had clearly underestimated what they were dealing with. "What do you want from me?" Marcus asked. "I've been asleep for 47 years. I don't understand what my people have become any better than you do." "We want you to help us understand," Zara replied. "Your psychological profiles and personal history suggest that you represent the best of pre-enhancement humanity. You're a scientist, an explorer, someone who sought knowledge rather than power. If anyone can help us find a peaceful solution to this crisis, it might be you." Marcus looked around the alien medical bay, taking in the advanced technology that surrounded him. These beings had clearly achieved incredible things through cooperation and mutual respect. The idea that they might be forced into conflict with his own species because of humanity's aggressive transformation was heartbreaking. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" he said finally. Zara's holographic form solidified slightly, as if she was drawing energy from somewhere to make their conversation more personal. "We want you to return to Earth, to speak with your enhanced people and try to understand their intentions. Our diplomatic protocols require that we make every possible effort to resolve conflicts peacefully before considering other options. You're our best hope for establishing meaningful communication with post-enhancement humanity." The thought of returning to a world populated entirely by enhanced humans filled Marcus with terror. These weren't his people anymore, not really. They had chosen to transform themselves into something that even advanced aliens found threatening. What kind of reception could he expect from a species that had voluntarily given up its original form? "What if they don't want to talk?" Marcus asked. "What if they see me as a relic of what they used to be, something to be eliminated or forcibly enhanced?" "Then we'll know that peaceful coexistence is impossible," Zara said simply. "And the Alliance will have to make some very difficult decisions about how to protect the rest of the galaxy from a species that appears to be preparing for large-scale expansion and conquest." Marcus closed his eyes and tried to imagine returning to an Earth populated by enhanced humans who might view him as obsolete. But he also thought about the alternative, a galactic war that could destroy both humanity and the Alliance. As terrifying as the prospect was, he knew he had to try. "I'll do it," he said finally. "I'll go back to Earth and try to make contact. But I want to understand more about what I'm walking into. You said humanity has been transforming itself for over 40 years. What exactly triggered this change? What made them decide to enhance themselves so aggressively?" Zara's expression suggested that this was the question she had been hoping he would ask. "That, Dr. Chen, is the greatest mystery of all. Our cultural experts have studied every communication we received from Earth during the transformation period. The enhancements didn't begin as a response to external threats or as part of some long-term plan. They started immediately after your people learned they weren't alone in the universe. The holographic display changed to show recordings of Earth's major cities during the early contact period. Marcus could see crowds of ordinary humans watching news broadcasts about the alien visitors. The faces in the crowds showed the emotions he would have expected: wonder, excitement, fear, curiosity. These were normal human reactions to first contact with an advanced alien civilization. For the first month after contact, everything proceeded normally. Zara continued. Your leaders asked reasonable questions about our technology and our intentions. Your scientists requested opportunities to study our ships and equipment. Your people seemed genuinely grateful for our offer of membership in the Alliance. Then something changed, almost overnight. The images shifted to show the same cities just weeks later. The crowds looked different now, more organized and purposeful. The expressions of wonder had been replaced by something that looked almost like determination, as if humanity had collectively decided on some course of action. We received the first reports of human enhancement experiments 37 days after initial contact, Zara explained. At first, we thought it was just a few individuals experimenting with our medical technology. But within 6 months, the modifications had spread to millions of people. Within 2 years, the enhancement process had become mandatory for all human citizens. Marcus stared at the recordings, trying to understand what could have motivated his entire species to undergo such radical transformation. Mandatory? Who made it mandatory? What government had the authority to enforce something like that on a global scale? That's another mystery, Zara replied. As far as we can determine, the enhancement program wasn't imposed by any existing government. It seems to have been a grassroots movement that spread organically through your population. People chose to enhance themselves, and then they convinced others to do the same. Within a remarkably short time, being unenhanced became socially unacceptable on Earth. The implications of what Zara was describing were staggering. Humanity hadn't been forced to transform itself by authoritarian leaders or alien manipulation. They had chosen enhancement collectively, as if the entire species had suddenly decided that their original form was inadequate for whatever future they envisioned. What could possibly motivate 8 billion people to voluntarily give up their humanity? Marcus asked. We believe, Zara said carefully, that your species may have interpreted our offer of alliance membership differently than we intended. When we explained that Earth would receive protected status, your people may have understood that to mean they needed protection from something. When we described the various threats that exist in the galaxy, aggressive species, cosmic phenomena, resource conflicts, humanity may have decided that survival required transformation into something more capable of defending itself. Marcus thought about this possibility. Humans had always been a species that responded to perceived threats with innovation and adaptation. If first contact had included information about galactic dangers, it was entirely possible that humanity's response had been to prepare for those dangers in the most aggressive way possible. But why such extreme modifications, he asked. Why not just develop better technology while remaining biologically human? Because, Zara said, your species appears to have concluded that biological humanity was fundamentally inadequate for survival in a galaxy full of enhanced aliens and cosmic threats. The enhancements weren't just about becoming stronger or smarter. They were about becoming something that could compete with any challenge the universe might present. The medical bay filled with new images showing enhanced humans in various environments that would be lethal to unmodified people. Marcus watched as they worked in the vacuum of space without protection, survived in the cores of volcanoes, and operated in gravitational fields that should have crushed normal human bodies. These weren't just enhanced humans. They were beings designed to thrive in any environment the galaxy could offer. They transformed themselves into the ultimate survivors, Marcus realized, not just for Earth, but for any world they might encounter. Exactly, Zara confirmed. And that transformation has made them more capable than we ever imagined possible. Our projections suggest that enhanced humans could establish colonies on worlds that we consider uninhabitable. They could survive conflicts that would destroy other species. They could expand across the galaxy faster and more efficiently than any other known form of life. Marcus felt a chill as he understood the full implications of what humanity had become. They hadn't just enhanced themselves for defense, they had created the perfect form for galactic expansion and colonization. Whether intentionally or not, humanity had transformed itself into a species capable of dominating the galaxy. No wonder the Alliance is concerned, he said. You offered humanity partnership, and they turned themselves into potential conquerors. We don't know if conquest is their goal, Zara said quickly. That's why your mission is so important. We need to understand what enhanced humanity actually wants. Are they planning aggressive expansion? Are they preparing to defend Earth from perceived threats? Or do they have some other purpose that we haven't considered? Marcus stood up from the medical bed, testing his strength and finding it adequate for what lay ahead. The weight of his mission was enormous. Quite possibly the future of galactic civilization depended on his ability to establish communication with a species that no longer resembled the humanity he had known. How long do I have? He asked. When does the Alliance need an answer about humanity's intentions? Zara's form flickered again, suggesting that maintaining the holographic communication was becoming difficult. The construction project in your outer solar system is approaching completion. Our analysts estimate that whatever humanity is building will be operational within 6 months. If it is indeed a vessel capable of carrying millions of enhanced humans to other star systems, the Alliance will need to decide how to respond before it becomes active. 6 months to prevent a potential galactic war. 6 months to bridge the gap between original humanity and whatever his species had become. Marcus looked out at the alien structures floating in space around him and wondered if he was humanity's last hope for peaceful coexistence or simply the first casualty of a conflict that was already inevitable. "I'll need to understand more about the enhancements," he said. "If I'm going to communicate effectively with enhanced humans, I need to know how they think, how they perceive the world, what motivates them." "We've prepared everything we know about the enhancement process," Zara replied. "But Dr. Chen, you should understand that much of what we've observed suggests that enhanced humans may not think like the people you remember. The modifications appear to have changed not just their bodies, but their minds, their values, possibly even their fundamental nature as a species." Marcus nodded grimly. He was about to return to a world populated by beings who looked human but might be as alien to him as the Luminari themselves. The question was whether enough of original humanity remained beneath all those enhancements to make communication possible. As Zara's hologram began to fade, she spoke once more. "Dr. Chen, there's one more thing you should know before you make your final decision. The enhanced humans aren't just building one massive vessel. Our long-range sensors have detected similar construction projects in 17 different star systems. Whatever humanity is planning, the scale suggests they're preparing for something far larger than we initially understood." The transport ship carrying Marcus Chen descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star, its hull burning bright against the alien sky. As the craft broke through the cloud layer, Marcus pressed his face against the small viewport and felt his breath catch in his throat. The planet below him was nothing like the Earth he remembered, yet somehow it was magnificent in ways that defied description. Where once sprawling cities had dotted the continents with their chaotic urban sprawl, now geometric patterns of crystalline structures rose from the landscape in perfect harmony. Each building seemed to pulse with inner light, and Marcus could see that they were connected by flowing streams of energy that moved like rivers of liquid starlight. The forests remained, but they had been enhanced somehow, their canopies shimmering with bioluminescent patterns that created vast mandalas visible from orbit. Even the oceans had been transformed, their surfaces broken by floating gardens and underwater cities that glowed like jewels beneath the waves. The Luminari pilot guiding Marcus to the surface spoke in the same mental communication he had grown accustomed to during his journey. "Dr. Chen, we're receiving a transmission from the planetary traffic control system. Enhanced humans are requesting permission to board our vessel." Marcus felt his heart rate spike. This was it. After weeks of preparation and studying alien reports about humanity's transformation, he was about to come face to face with what his species had become. "Grant them permission," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "I need to start somewhere." The transport ship settled onto what appeared to be a landing platform made from some kind of living metal that flowed and reshaped itself to accommodate their vessel. Through the viewport, Marcus could see figures approaching across the platform, and his first glimpse of enhanced humanity took his breath away. They moved with fluid grace that seemed to defy the normal limitations of bipedal locomotion, their forms taller and more elegant than any human he remembered. Their skin had a subtle luminescence that suggested they had somehow incorporated the same bioluminescent technology he had seen in the forests below. The airlock cycled, and 3 enhanced humans entered the transport ship. The leader was a woman who might have been 30 or 70 years old, her ageless features making it impossible to determine her actual age. Her eyes held depths that seemed to contain entire universes of knowledge, and when she smiled at Marcus, he felt a warmth that was distinctly human despite all the physical changes. "Dr. Marcus Chen," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through his bones. "I am Director Anya Volkov of the Integration Council. We have been expecting you for quite some time." Marcus studied her face, looking for traces of the humanity he remembered. Despite the enhancements, he could see something familiar in her expression, a spark of curiosity and intelligence that felt recognizably human. "Director Volkov, I have to admit, I don't know what I expected, but this wasn't it. You don't seem surprised to see me." "We've been monitoring Luminari communications about you for months," Anya replied. "When we learned that an unenhanced human had survived in stasis for nearly 5 decades, we knew it was only a matter of time before they brought you home. You represent something precious to us, Dr. Chen. A living connection to what we once were." The two other enhanced humans with Anya stepped forward, and Marcus could see that they represented different approaches to enhancement. One appeared to have integrated technological components directly into his biology, with visible neural interfaces and what looked like organic computer systems running beneath his translucent skin. The other seemed more biologically modified, her form suggesting adaptations that would allow her to survive in extreme environments. "This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, our lead researcher in consciousness integration," Anya said, indicating the technologically enhanced individual. "And this is Captain Rosa Martinez, who heads our environmental adaptation program. We each represent different paths that humanity has taken in its evolution." Marcus shook hands with each of them, noting that their grips were firm but carefully controlled, as if they were consciously moderating their enhanced strength to avoid injuring him. "I have so many questions," he began. "The Luminari told me about the transformation, but I need to understand why. What made humanity decide to change itself so completely?" Dr. Vasquez's technological components seemed to flicker with activity as she processed the question. "Dr. Chen, when the Luminari first made contact with us, they shared not just their technology but their history. We learned about the countless species that had risen to prominence in the galaxy, only to fall to various threats. Natural disasters, resource depletion, conflicts with other species, cosmic phenomena that could sterilize entire star systems. We realized that biological humanity, as wonderful as it was, would inevitably face extinction in such an environment." Captain Martinez nodded in agreement. "The enhancement wasn't about becoming better than what we were, it was about becoming capable of surviving what the galaxy could throw at us. Every modification was chosen based on specific threats we might encounter. Enhanced strength for high-gravity worlds, radiation resistance for cosmic travel, extended lifespans to make interstellar colonization practical." "But why did everyone choose enhancement?" Marcus asked. "Surely some people must have wanted to remain unchanged." Anya's expression grew thoughtful. "Dr. Chen, what would you do if you learned that your child would face dangers that you couldn't protect them from? Would you give them the tools they needed to survive, even if it meant they would become something different from what you are?" The question hit Marcus harder than he had expected. These people hadn't transformed themselves out of vanity or ambition. They had done it out of love for their species and their descendants. They had looked at the vast, dangerous galaxy and decided that preserving humanity's essence was more important than preserving humanity's original form. "Show me," Marcus said simply. "I want to understand what humanity has become." The tour that followed redefined everything Marcus thought he knew about civilization and technology. Anya led him through cities that were living organisms in their own right, their buildings growing and adapting to meet the needs of their inhabitants. The enhanced humans he encountered moved through their environment with perfect efficiency, each individual connected to vast networks of information and resources that allowed them to coordinate their activities on a planetary scale. In the agricultural districts, Marcus saw farms that could feed billions of people using a fraction of the land that traditional agriculture required. The crops themselves had been enhanced, engineered to grow in any environment and provide perfect nutrition. Enhanced humans tended these fields with an understanding of biology and ecology that bordered on miraculous, their modified senses allowing them to perceive the health and needs of individual plants across vast areas. The industrial zones were even more impressive. Instead of the polluting factories Marcus remembered from his time, these facilities operated in perfect harmony with the environment around them. Waste from one process became raw material for another, creating closed loops that generated no pollution while producing goods of incredible sophistication. Enhanced humans worked alongside machines that seemed more like living creatures than technological devices, their enhanced nervous systems allowing them to interface directly with production systems. "This is incredible," Marcus said as they walked through a facility that was simultaneously manufacturing spacecraft components and filtering toxins from the atmosphere. "But why did you need to enhance yourselves to achieve this? Couldn't advanced technology have accomplished the same things?" Dr. Vasquez smiled, her technological components pulsing with gentle light. Technology without conscious guidance is just sophisticated tools, Dr. Chen. The enhancements don't just give us better bodies. They give us better minds, expanded awareness, deeper understanding of complex systems. We can perceive and process information in ways that allow us to work with technology, rather than simply using it. To demonstrate her point, Vasquez approached one of the manufacturing systems and placed her hand on its surface. Immediately, Marcus could see changes rippling through the machine as it adjusted its operations based on her direct neural input. The process was so seamless that it looked like magic, the boundary between human consciousness and technological capability dissolving completely. The enhancement process isn't just about individual improvement, Captain Martinez explained as they moved to the next area. It's about creating a collective intelligence that can tackle problems too complex for any individual mind. Watch, Martinez gestured, and suddenly Marcus became aware of subtle changes in the behavior of enhanced humans throughout the facility. Without any visible communication, they began coordinating their activities in new patterns, their movements flowing together like dancers performing an incredibly complex choreography. The entire facility's operations shifted to accommodate some new objective that Marcus couldn't even perceive. "What just happened?" he asked. "We received data indicating that a solar storm will reach Earth in 6 hours," Martinez replied. Everyone in the facility just adjusted their work priorities to ensure that critical systems are protected and backup power is available for essential operations. The decision was made collectively in less than a second, and implementation began immediately. Marcus stared at the enhanced humans around him, beginning to understand the true scope of what humanity had become. This wasn't just individual enhancement. It was the creation of a collective organism that could think and act on planetary scales, while still preserving individual consciousness and identity. "How do you maintain your individuality?" he asked. "If you're all connected, how do you avoid losing yourselves in the collective?" Anya's smile was warm and unmistakably human. "Because we chose to preserve the best parts of what we were, while enhancing our capabilities. The enhancement process was designed to strengthen human nature, not replace it. We're still creative, curious, emotional beings. We still fall in love, create art, tell stories, and dream of better futures. We're just much better equipped to make those dreams reality." As if to illustrate her point, they entered a section of the city dedicated to cultural activities. Here, enhanced humans were creating art that incorporated technologies and perspectives impossible for unmodified minds to conceive. Musicians played instruments that existed partially in other dimensions, their melodies creating visual patterns in the air that told stories about humanity's journey from Earth to the stars. Painters worked with light itself, crafting images that shifted and evolved based on the observer's emotions and thoughts. "We haven't lost our humanity," Dr. Vasquez said as they watched an enhanced human sculptor shape matter at the molecular level to create a statue that seemed to capture the essence of human hope and determination. "We've expanded it to include capabilities that we never imagined possible." Marcus found himself deeply moved by what he was seeing, but he also felt a growing sense of unease. The capabilities he was witnessing were extraordinary, but they also represented power on a scale that could reshape the galaxy. "Anya, I need to ask you something directly. The Luminari are concerned about humanity's intentions. They see the construction projects, the weapons development, the preparation for large-scale expansion. Are you planning to conquer other worlds?" The three enhanced humans exchanged glances, and Marcus could sense some kind of rapid communication passing between them. When Anya responded, her expression was serious but not defensive. "Dr. Chen, humanity learned something important from the Luminari that they probably didn't intend to teach us. We learned that the galaxy is not a safe place for species that cannot defend themselves." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. Captain Martinez took over the explanation. "The Luminari showed us records of hundreds of species that had accepted protection from the Galactic Preservation Alliance. Do you know what happened to most of them? They became dependent on Alliance protection and gradually lost the ability to develop their own advanced technologies or defend their own interests. They became client species, grateful for Alliance protection, but essentially powerless to chart their own destinies." Dr. Vasquez nodded in agreement. The Alliance's offer of protection came with strings attached that they didn't explicitly mention. Protected species are expected to limit their technological development, restrict their population growth, and accept alliance oversight of their major decisions. It's a benevolent form of control, but it's still control. Marcus felt a chill as he began to understand what they were telling him. So humanity enhanced itself to avoid becoming a client species. Exactly, Anya confirmed. We realized that accepting alliance protection would mean accepting alliance limitations. We would become a beautiful, preserved species, living in a cosmic zoo. Our potential would be forever constrained by their definition of what we should be allowed to become. But the weapons, the military preparations, Marcus pressed. The Luminari are convinced you're preparing for aggressive expansion. We're preparing for independence, Captain Martinez said firmly. The galaxy has many species that view emerging civilizations as either potential subjects or potential threats. We've enhanced ourselves to ensure that we can defend our interests without relying on anyone else's protection. The construction projects you've seen are defense systems, colony ships, and research facilities designed to establish humanity as a truly independent galactic civilization. Marcus processed this information, trying to reconcile humanity's perspective with what the Luminari had told him. So you're not planning to conquer other worlds? We're planning to colonize uninhabited worlds and defend ourselves from anyone who tries to stop us, Dr. Vasquez replied. If that's the same thing as conquest in the Alliance's view, then perhaps they need to examine their own assumptions about who has the right to expand across the galaxy. The conversation was interrupted by a soft chime that seemed to emanate from the enhanced humans themselves. Anya's expression became alert and focused. Dr. Chen, we're receiving reports that Alliance fleets are massing near our outer defense perimeters. It appears that our conversation may be more urgent than we realized. Marcus felt his stomach drop. They're preparing for military action? It seems so, Captain Martinez confirmed, her enhanced senses apparently accessing real-time intelligence data. Multiple species have contributed ships to what appears to be a blockade formation. They're not attacking yet, but they're definitely positioning for potential conflict. Anya turned to Marcus with an expression that was both sad and determined. Dr. Chen, you came here to prevent a war between humanity and the Alliance. I'm afraid you may have arrived just as that war is beginning. Marcus looked around at the incredible civilization that humanity had built, at the enhanced beings who had preserved their essential humanity while gaining capabilities beyond anything he could have imagined. The thought of this achievement being destroyed in a galactic conflict was heartbreaking, but he was beginning to understand that the conflict might be inevitable. What do you want me to tell them? He asked. How can I convince the Alliance that humanity isn't a threat to galactic peace? Tell them the truth, Anya replied. Tell them that humanity chose enhancement over dependence, expansion over limitation, independence over protection. Tell them that we're not interested in conquering anyone, but we're also not interested in accepting anyone's definition of what we should be allowed to become. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her technological components flickering with increased activity. Dr. Chen, there's something else you should know. The enhancement process isn't permanent. If the Alliance truly wanted peaceful coexistence, we could offer to teach them the enhancement technologies. Every species in the galaxy could have access to the same capabilities we've developed. Marcus stared at her in amazement. You're offering to share the enhancement technology with other species? We've always been willing to share, Captain Martinez confirmed. But the Alliance philosophy is based on preserving species in their original forms. They view enhancement as a form of contamination rather than evolution. They want to keep everyone safely limited to their natural capabilities. The implications of what they were telling him were staggering. Humanity hadn't just enhanced itself for survival and independence. They had developed technologies that could uplift every species in the galaxy, offering them the same expanded capabilities that humans now enjoyed. But the Alliance, in its desire to preserve and protect, was preventing this technological evolution from spreading. So the real conflict isn't about human aggression, Marcus realized. It's about competing philosophies of what galactic civilization should look like. Exactly, Anya said. The Alliance wants to preserve the galaxy as it is, with each species safely contained within its natural limitations. Humanity represents the possibility of something different. A galaxy where every species has the opportunity to become more than what it originally was. Marcus looked out at the transformed Earth around him, understanding now that he was witnessing not just human enhancement, but a preview of what the entire galaxy could become. The question was whether the Alliance would allow that transformation to occur, or whether they would use force to prevent what they saw as a threat to their carefully preserved cosmic order. The chimes sounded again, and this time all three enhanced humans became very still. When they spoke again, their voices carried a gravity that made Marcus's blood run cold. "Dr. Chen," Anya said, "the Alliance fleets have just crossed into our outer defense zone. The war has begun." The first shot fired in the war between enhanced humanity and the Galactic Preservation Alliance came not from weapons but from words. Marcus Chen stood in the global communication center that humanity had constructed in the heart of what was once the Pacific Ocean, watching as Director Anya Volkov prepared to broadcast humanity's response to the Alliance blockade. The chamber around them pulsed with living technology, its organic walls displaying real-time tactical information from across the solar system. "Alliance fleet commanders," Anya spoke into the communication array, her voice carrying across light years to reach the assembled armada. "You have entered sovereign human space without invitation. We are prepared to discuss peaceful resolution of our differences, but we will not accept ultimatums or surrender demands." The response came within minutes, Admiral Zirion's voice crackling through the quantum communication network with a barely controlled fury. "Enhanced humans, you have violated every principle of galactic preservation. Your modifications represent a contamination that threatens the natural order of all species. Surrender your enhancement technologies and submit to Alliance oversight, or face the consequences." Marcus watched Anya's expression remain perfectly calm as she formulated her reply. Around them, enhanced humans worked at stations that seemed to respond to their thoughts rather than their touch, coordinating defensive systems across multiple star systems with fluid efficiency. The integration between human consciousness and technological capability was so seamless that it appeared almost supernatural. "Admiral Zirion," Anya responded, "humanity declines your terms. We offer instead a demonstration of what enhanced consciousness can achieve when applied to problems of mutual benefit. Perhaps you will reconsider your position after witnessing what we have accomplished." Before the Admiral could respond, something extraordinary began happening throughout the solar system. The massive construction projects that the Alliance had interpreted as weapons platforms suddenly revealed their true purpose. Instead of activating defensive systems or launching attacks, they began broadcasting streams of information directly into the quantum communication networks that connected every world in the galaxy. Marcus stared at the displays showing data flowing from Earth to thousands of star systems simultaneously. "What are you doing?" Dr. Elena Vasquez materialized beside him, her technological components glowing with intense activity. "We're showing the galaxy what enhancement can accomplish. Every species that receives this transmission will have access to our complete research into consciousness expansion, biological optimization, and technological integration. We're offering the tools for voluntary evolution to anyone who wants them." The reaction from the Alliance fleet was immediate and violent. Energy weapons began firing at the transmission stations, but the enhanced humans had anticipated this response. The broadcasting arrays were protected by defensive systems that could deflect or absorb massive amounts of energy, and backup transmitters activated faster than the Alliance forces could target them. "You're forcing evolution on unwilling species," Admiral Zirion's voice roared through the communication system. "This is contamination on a galactic scale." "We're offering choice," Anya replied calmly. "Every species can examine our research and decide for themselves whether enhancement serves their interests. Those who prefer preservation can continue as they are. Those who choose evolution can begin their own transformation." Marcus realized with growing amazement that humanity wasn't fighting a war in the traditional sense. They were conducting the largest educational outreach program in galactic history, sharing the secrets of enhanced consciousness with every species capable of receiving the transmission. The Alliance could attack Earth, but they couldn't stop the information from spreading to worlds throughout the galaxy. The first responses from other star systems began arriving within hours. The Altarian Republic, which had already withdrawn from Alliance protection, announced that they were beginning immediate trials of human enhancement technologies. The Draconis Federation declared that they would establish research centers to study consciousness expansion. Even some of the Alliance's older member species began requesting detailed analysis of the human data. "This is impossible," came a new voice through the communication array. Queen Mother Zrix of the Cathy sounded genuinely bewildered. "Species don't willingly abandon their natural forms. Evolution is supposed to be gradual, controlled, guided by proper authority." Captain Rosa Martinez stepped forward, her biologically enhanced form radiating confidence and strength. "Your Majesty, evolution has never been controlled by authority. It responds to environmental pressures and opportunities. We've simply created technologies that allow conscious participation in evolutionary processes rather than passive acceptance of genetic limitations." The tactical displays around the communication center began showing something that made Marcus's heart race with hope. Alliance fleet formations were breaking apart as individual ships began withdrawing from the blockade. The crews aboard those vessels were receiving the enhancement data and making their own decisions about whether to continue supporting the Alliance's preservation policies. "Fleet discipline is collapsing," reported Admiral Zirion, his voice now tinged with desperation. "Multiple ships are refusing orders and requesting permission to return to their home systems. Some are asking for direct communication with human enhancement specialists." Anya smiled, and for a moment Marcus could see the unchanged humanity that still existed beneath all her enhancements. "Admiral, your crews are exercising the same choice that humanity made when we first learned about the galaxy. They're deciding whether to accept limitations or embrace possibilities." The communication array suddenly filled with voices from across the galaxy as species after species began responding to humanity's data transmission. The Venari Republic announced that they were establishing enhancement research programs. The crystalline hegemony declared that their silicon-based biology was perfectly suited for consciousness integration technologies. Even some of the microbial collective intelligences began experimenting with expanded awareness protocols. "Stop this," Admiral Zirion demanded. "You're destroying the natural order that has maintained galactic peace for millions of years." "We're offering a new order," Anya replied. "One based on choice rather than preservation, growth rather than limitation, cooperation rather than control." Marcus watched the tactical displays as more Alliance ships broke formation and began broadcasting their own messages to the Human Communications Center. The captains and crews were asking questions about enhancement procedures, requesting technical specifications, and expressing interest in visiting Earth to observe the transformation process firsthand. Dr. Vasquez turned to Marcus with an expression of profound satisfaction. "Dr. Chen, do you understand what's happening? The Alliance built their entire civilization on the assumption that species naturally prefer safety and preservation over growth and risk. They never considered that many species might choose enhancement if they were given the opportunity." The truth of what she was saying became clear as reports continued flowing in from across the galaxy. Species that had accepted Alliance protection for centuries were suddenly questioning whether that protection was worth the limitations it imposed. Worlds that had been content with their natural capabilities were beginning to explore the possibilities that enhancement could offer. "This is magnificent," Marcus said, watching as the Alliance blockade continued to disintegrate. "You're not conquering the galaxy, you're liberating it." "Exactly," Captain Martinez confirmed. "Every species deserves the right to determine its own evolutionary path. The Alliance was preventing that choice by convincing everyone that preservation was the only safe option." The final collapse of Alliance authority came when Supreme Chancellor Vorak himself appeared on the communication network. The Zephyrian leader's scaled face showed exhaustion and defeat as he addressed the scattered remains of his fleet. "All Alliance vessels, this is the Chancellor," Vorak said wearily. "Stand down from combat operations and return to your home systems. The Preservation Alliance, as we have known it, no longer exists." Marcus felt a mixture of relief and sadness as he watched the end of an organization that had maintained galactic peace for millions of years. "What happens now?" he asked. Anya gestured to the displays showing communication requests from hundreds of star systems. "Now we help every species that wants assistance in beginning their own enhancement programs. We share our knowledge freely and support whatever evolutionary paths they choose to explore. The galaxy becomes a place of unlimited potential rather than enforced limitations." "And those species that prefer to remain unchanged?" Marcus asked. "They'll be protected and respected," Dr. Vasquez assured him. Enhancement is about expanding choices, not eliminating them. Species that find fulfillment in their natural forms have every right to continue as they are. The communication center, filled with the sounds of a galaxy in transformation, as species after species announced their intention to begin enhancement programs. Some focused on biological modification, others on technological integration, and still others on consciousness expansion. Each world was choosing its own path toward whatever form of enhancement best suited its needs and values. Marcus looked around at the enhanced humans working to coordinate this massive galactic transition and felt a deep sense of pride in what his species had accomplished. They had faced the choice between safety and growth, between limitation and possibility, and they had chosen to become something greater than what they were. More importantly, they were now offering that same choice to every other species in the galaxy. "Dr. Chen," Anya said, approaching him with an expression of gentle curiosity. "You've seen what we've become and witnessed what we're offering to the galaxy. The question now is what you want to become. The enhancement process remains available to you if you choose to undergo it." Marcus considered the offer carefully. He could remain as he was, a living connection to original humanity, or he could join his species in their expanded form. Both choices had value. Both served important purposes. "I think," he said finally, "that the galaxy needs voices for both preservation and enhancement. Someone should speak for the importance of remembering what we were while celebrating what we can become." Anya nodded with approval. "Then you'll serve as our ambassador to species considering enhancement, helping them understand that transformation doesn't require abandoning their essential nature." As reports continued flowing in from across the galaxy, Marcus realized that humanity had accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. They had fundamentally changed the relationship between species and their evolutionary potential, offering everyone the tools to consciously direct their own development rather than accepting biological limitations as permanent constraints. The war that everyone had feared would destroy galactic civilization had instead become the catalyst for its greatest transformation. Species that had been content with preservation were discovering the joy of growth and possibility. The galaxy was becoming a place where any form of consciousness could explore its ultimate potential. Looking out at the stars through the communication center's transparent walls, Marcus could see ships from dozens of species approaching Earth to begin their own enhancement journeys. The galaxy that had once been dominated by the philosophy of preservation was transforming into a cosmos of unlimited evolutionary possibility. Humanity had indeed shown the galaxy something unexpected, but it wasn't hell. It was the promise of transcendence, freely offered to anyone brave enough to embrace it. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.